About 6 months ago, my ex and I broke up, so I had to move back in with my mom. I'm 23 and I've been living with her since then. About a month ago, I broke my collarbone in a longboarding accident, so I've been out of work and at home most of the time because I'm not really supposed to be doing anything. My mom is a busy woman. She works hard, but sometimes has to travel for her job. This week is one of those weeks. She asked me to take care of the house while she's gone. I told her I would. She was supposed to be back last night late. Her flight was supposed to land at 10 p.m.-ish. So around 11:30 p.m. I hear the front door open and close and my mom go into her room and shut the door. Her room is on the first floor next to the kitchen. A little offended she didn't come say hi or goodnight or anything. But I figured she was tired and she just forgot. Decided I'll just give her shit for it in the morning. I play my games for like 20 more minutes before I decide I'm tired and want to go get water before bed. I walk downstairs and it's pitch black down there. I walk into the darkness as the kitchen is right next to the stairs and I'll get light when I open the fridge. I walk past my mom's room to get to the kitchen and notice the door is open. I know for a fact I heard her close it and I did not hear it open again. Whatever though, probably just tired. Then I hear something move in there and I realize my mom must still be awake, so I say not even a hello AJ. Just straight to your room. I'm hurt she didn't say anything back. I thought she might still be sleeping and just shifted in bed, so I went to the fridge and started getting my water and from behind me. From her room I hear AJ. I yell back, "What's up?" No response. So I walk over to her room. Keep in mind it's pitch black after I close the fridge. I get to the start of the small hall that leads to my mom's room and say what? No response again. So this time I turn on the hall light and as the light floods the hall I see she's standing in her doorway with an unnaturally wide smile on her face. I say, "What the fuck, Mom? You scared me, are you good dude?" She didn't say anything, just waved at me to come closer. I froze. I just told her that I'm going to bed and that I love her. I didn't turn my back though. I backed up to the stairs. And as I get to the base of the stairs, the hall light turns off and I'm surrounded in the darkness again. At this point, I'm scared out of my mind. I hit every light switch near me and turn on every light in the living room. Nothing. I hit every light switch near me and turn on every light in the living room. Nothing. I bolted upstairs, grabbed the keys to my car and threw some clothes in my backpack, which was all a struggle as I have one arm in a sling. I notice my phone on my desk, grab it, and see I have a text from my mom, explaining how she and her coworkers decided to stay another day to have fun where they were and not just work and will be getting on a flight the day after tomorrow and how she wanted to tell me sooner but hasn't had service all day. Yup, that tracks. I put my phone in my pocket, grab my bag and keys, walk out of my room and realize all the lights are back off. Hell no, I think to myself as I pull out my phone and turn the flashlight on. I just gotta make it there, unlock the door, and leave. I've already remote started my car. I hear it running, it's a loud-ass charger. I'll be okay if I can just make it across the street, I tell myself. I walk with my phone in hand, down the stairs. The phone's light sucks, it doesn't even reach to the bottom of the steps. As I get closer to the bottom, other steps start getting revealed until I see the floor. With my mom standing at the bottom of them, I look up and my eyes meet hers. She's looking at me and smiling still. She backs off into the dark with a wave. I'm still standing in the middle of my staircase, nowhere near a light switch, when my phone lights up with a notification ... double quotes low battery. Turn on power saving mode. Then my phone fully dies and I'm surrounded in darkness again. You are so fucking kidding me, right? I think to myself. I stand there in the darkness, just listening. The silence is almost deafening. I don't hear anything. If I make a run for it, I know this house well enough, I don't need light, right? I run and miss a step at the bottom. I fell right onto the shoulder with the broken collarbone. Laying on the floor in immense pain, I roll onto my back and begin to listen again as the pain subsides. Still nothing. I gotta get up and go. Then again from the kitchen, which is maybe 20 feet to my left ... AJ, and then I hear bare footsteps on the tile start walking slower, getting faster, almost in a run now coming right for me. Pure adrenaline goes through my body and I get up and run out the front door and across the street into my car. I get to my car and sit there for a while, waiting for my phone to get enough charge. When it does, I call my friend Haley and ask if I can come over, and she jokingly asks, "And why would a boy like you want to come over this late, huh?" "Nothing like that, I swear, I just can't be in my house right now," I say. She notices the seriousness in my voice. "Yeah, you can come over. Thank you, see you soon." Everything from here on out is not important except for I convince Haley to stay with me at my house for the next 2 days until my mom actually gets home, since I did give her my word I'd watch the house. When we got to my place, we started watching TV and she fell asleep on my bed and I couldn't sleep, so I kept watching TV and decided I may feel better writing this here. But as I'm finishing this up, I think I heard someone lightly knock on my door, and the light in the hallway is off now when we definitely left it on. I am now 90 years old. I've held a secret since 1969 that I've never told anyone, not even my wife. I won't tell my name, but I suppose I can tell the story. It won't be believed anyway, and what can they do to me now? I was an astronaut for NASA back in 1969. You won't find my name in the history books, though. My name and my mission were never made public. People think that Neil Armstrong was the first man to set foot on the moon, but he wasn't. I was. Originally, they had planned on letting the public know about my mission. We had returned successfully, but because of the nature of what happened and the horror of what we found, it was not to be. Apollo 10 had gone well. They orbited the moon and tested all the equipment. Everything was working fine. Many at Mission Control were really pushing for a landing attempt. The higher-ups refused, apparently because they were afraid of having a fatal mishap on live TV. The horror and embarrassment of such a thing was something that no one talked about. It was the kind of a thing that was always in the back of everyone's mind, but no one really brought it up until we were ready to land. Then, all of the sudden, everyone realized that we really couldn't take that kind of chance. You have to understand that things were different in those days. National pride was real and it was strong. People would question the need for spending so much money on something that resulted in a horrific tragedy. Children were watching at home and we couldn't let them see such a thing. It just wouldn't be allowed to happen. So the plan was to land on the moon without informing the public until after. That way, if something went horribly wrong, they would just not tell anyone. This protected the reputation of the United States, protected the public's psychological state, and protected the program from being canceled to any public outcry that might ensue in the wake of such a disaster. We decided to go all out and bring along the first version of the lunar roving vehicle, and unlike the later missions, all three of us would descend to the surface in the lander. They pulled back on these two things for subsequent missions. We called the mission Apollo 10.5. Our landing site is classified and I won't disclose it because someone with a high-powered telescope who knows where to look might be able to see something that might confirm my story, and the government would be twice as upset with me as they certainly already are. We launched on July 13, 1969, 3 days prior to the launch of Apollo 11. Apollo 11 was set up to be a rescue mission if necessary. If not, they had planned to delay it while they informed the public and begun preparations for our successful splashdown and imminent media frenzy. We landed safely on July 15, 1969 at a site somewhat near the Sea of Tranquility on the surface of the moon. We did pretty much everything that's already been shown from Apollo 11 and some later missions. We were excited and having an absolute blast. It was an ideal mission and just incredible to see the Earth in the sky and jump around in lower gravity than we were used to. Everything was wonderful until we got on the lunar roving vehicle, commonly known as the lunar buggy. 2 of us took the buggy to explore a nearby crater while the other man stayed at the lander and set up some equipment. We found a cave down in the crater and decided to explore it. It was large enough to drive the buggy into, and so we pulled into it and stopped in the shade. We got out of the vehicle and started to examine the cave, taking pictures and collecting rock samples. Suddenly from the darkness, something ran up to the other man and knocked him over. It was an olive green color and ran onto feet. It was about 4.5 feet tall with a large head. It was not in a pressure suit. I do not claim to understand what biology could allow it to live in that environment without what we call life support systems. It had an oversized head and large flappy ears. It had large bare feet and large hands that reminded me of a tree frog's hands and feet a little bit. Its eyes were huge and dark red, darker than brick red. Its mouth was large and wide with fat lips, and when it opened its mouth, its teeth were kind of like hippopotamus teeth. Large and round, with flat biting surfaces. It had my comrade on the ground and began to beat him with a football-sized rock. I was terrified, but I still tried to push it off of him. It smashed through the helmet's glass, sending a rush of air and broken glass in all directions. It was stunned from the explosion of air it had unleashed and paused to check itself for injuries. I seized upon that moment to get back in the buggy and pulled back out of the cave. As I was starting to drive away, it jumped into the buggy with me and we began to struggle with each other as I frantically headed back towards the lunar lander. At some point the thing pushed me out of the buggy and it continued driving the buggy, following the tracks we'd made on the way to the crater. When I got back to the lander, I saw that the lander had been ransacked and my other crew member was lying there dead in front of it with the flag stuck right through his chest. The buggy was nowhere in sight, but I saw its tracks going off in a different direction. I climbed inside the lander and radioed an SOS back to Earth. The damage to the lander was so extensive it couldn't take off, nor could I remove my pressure suit. I hid in there for almost 4 days, with nothing to eat or drink, before Apollo 11 landed, and its crew found me and brought me home. Subsequent missions had their men all armed with special weapons made for an airless environment. Although I'm not cleared to know, a high-ranking NASA official pulled me aside at a conference 30 years later and let me know that they had found the thing before the end of the Apollo program and killed it. That is all I know and all I'm willing to say on the subject. My name is Charles. Years ago, when I was only 13 years old, something happened at school, something I will never forget. Me and my friends, Xavier, Sam, Tall Sam and Oliver, were hanging out of the school hallways. We had nothing to do that day. We were bored. Sam had the idea to go outside and we followed him to his locker where his sweater was. I lived in Canada and, at that time of the year, it was a bit cold outside. Me, Xavier and Tall Sam were behind Sam and Oliver. Suddenly, Xavier had the idea to run away as a prank. This is the mistake we made. It's when the group separated that it had the opportunity to get us. We ran as fast as we could, leaving Sam and Oliver behind. We hid on this second floor, in an area of the school more isolated. Xavier took out his phone, took a photo of a poster on the wall accompanied by his middle finger and sent it to Sam. Hopefully, Sam would guess where we were based on the poster and try to find us. At this stage, it was just a game of hide and seek with small hints to help Sam and Oliver find us in the vastness of the school. After a few of those hint messages with some obscenities in them, we heard the two boys approach based on their voices. We sprinted to the basement. The basement was composed of a lot of staircases, doors, gymnasiums, and locker rooms. We hid under the stairs this time. If we just sat in plain sight like we did before, we would certainly get caught. Then, we heard them again. Xavier and Tall Sam took off while leaving me there. I didn't know where they went, so I ran in a random direction. This was the second mistake we made. Now we were even more separated. Eventually, Xavier sent a hit on the group chat. Because of my good memory, I immediately knew where this was and hurried to get there because I was still playing the game. I was too slow. I arrived and the seekers were there. I ran back before they noticed me. A notification on my phone informed me they had changed spot another time. The photo showed a middle finger on the center with a staircase and a door in the background. Another photo showed the door opened and tall Sam stepping inside. I was not familiar at all with this part of the school. There were many doors that hid in plain sight. By being so generic, they become a part of the background and not an entrance to anything. I knew Xavier and knew he went back to the basement. When I got there was no door under the staircase. He must have chosen another staircase. I looked and I looked, but no staircase had a door under. Even outside the basement, I couldn't find one. I wasn't hallucinating. I ran up the stairs and went in the alley where the music class took place. I had art, so I never really explored this corridor. I tried every doorknob and one was unlocked. I took a photo and sent it to their group chat. Then I entered. It was dark. It searched for a light switch but couldn't find one. It wasn't important. I would just use my phone's flashlight. The room was filled with pipes and machines. It was some kind of alimentation room. I wasn't supposed to be there. The janitor must have left it unlocked. There was another door in the back of the rooms. I lifted up some wires that were in the way and got inside. It was a dark hallway, probably used by the staff to travel through the locked maintenance rooms more easily. I heard a voice. It was tall Sam calling Xavier. A door opened at the end of the hallway and we made eye contact. "Oh, you're there. I think we lost you a couple of minutes ago," he said. "Are you searching for Xavier? I thought he was still with you." "No." When we entered the small room in the photo, I looked around and, when I looked back, he wasn't there anymore. He's pranking us. At this time, it must have been close to the end of lunch break. I decided to meet up with the boys and get to class, but when I looked at my watch, it wasn't a watch anymore. It was a wrist with no watch on it. It probably fell off when I was running. I didn't pay much attention to that detail because it was a pretty cheap watch. Then I wanted to look at the time on my phone. I had put it in my pocket because the hallway was dim, but I could still see. When I reached in my pocket, my phone wasn't there. At top moment I freaked out. Losing my watch is one thing, but losing $500 is another. I'm gonna get in trouble when I get back home, I told myself. I couldn't have been more wrong. This time, Xavier sent a photo of the outdoor building. A mysterious building that was next to the tennis court and the road. Apparently it was unlocked. Me and tall Sam ran outside. It was cold, and we got there before Sam and Oliver. Xavier was there, waiting for us. "Let's move a last time and then we'll meet up with Sam and Oliver," he said. "Do you know what time it is?" I asked. He grabbed his phone and it showed 8:10 a.m. It was impossible. School started after that hour. How could we be at school since 3 hours ago, but it didn't even start? We thought it was probably just a bug and decided to go to our classes. On our way, Xavier got a notification. It was a photo of a door between two lockers in the big locker area. It was really strange because the photo was sent by Xavier himself. Once again, something here was impossible. This was not possible. Someone was pulling a prank on us. It wasn't someone. Curiosity won over our rationality. We went to the locker area and it was there. A door on the wall where I swear there wasn't one before. We entered and were met with a dusty stair going down. It probably led to the other basement, a basement in the front of the school with only classes and special need classes. We were just above a closed room with potentially just electronics and random machines. Maybe the water heater. It was just that. We switched on the lights and explored. Then we heard Sam arrive. "I found you guys," he said. "Where's Oliver?" "What? I thought he was with you." We exchanged confused looks as we were wondering where he could have possibly went. We looked around because Sam wanted to do some vandalism and maybe steal valuable objects. "Yeah, I'm not proud of that phase. We saw a spiral staircase and Xavier went to inspect it. He climbed up and disappeared through the ceiling. "It's just the storage room, guys." "Okay. Get down and let's go back to our classes." No response. Xavier still no response. "It's not funny, Xavier." I went to check and nobody was there. Only cardboard boxes and dust. I climbed down and told my friends the unsettling truth. We were shocked. There was no place for him to escape. Then, as we were gonna get back up to the lockers, we realized there was no more staircase. We yelled and yelled, kicking the locked door that led to the basement. It seemed like nobody was there to hear our screams. Tall Sam got an idea. He took out the saw he had in his backpack for some reason. He explained he had it because he stole it from the carpentry equipment the school had. I was not impressed, but whatever. It was his thing, stealing people's stuff simply for the fun of it. Like I said, I deeply regret that phase of my life. He grabbed a chair and started cutting the ceiling that, unlike the majority of the school's ceiling, was made out of plaster. Then he climbed inside the hollow space between it and the floor above and disappeared. Just like Xavier did. And just like with Xavier, he never came out. Me and Sam were petrified. At this stage, he was actually crying. We were more scared than we ever were. He had enough. With a powerful kick, the locked door was sent flying and we came out of that room of horror. Then I asked him, Sam, where and when was the last time you saw Oliver? That was when he entered the room under the staircase. I heard him say there was nobody, and then, silence. I went to check and only found his lunchbox. I was not only sweating, I was breathing heavily and entirely terrified. Sam was too, I could tell. We ran to the last obstacle to our escape, the basement doors. Like I knew deep down inside me, they were locked. I'm gonna go see if the other one is locked, he said. There was another one at the end of the hallway. The front basement was basically just a long hallway. I'm gonna stay there in case I see someone, I replied. It started with voices. I thought I was going crazy for sure. Then I saw them, police officers breaking the door and rescuing me. They asked me if I was alright. I was very confused. I thought I was gonna get yelled at for destroying a door and going to places I shouldn't be, especially since I wasn't best student. And why were there police officers? When we got outside, I realized it was dark. They told me I never came back from school and my parents were going crazy. Sam is still there. Who? Sam, my friend. He was with me and was trying to find a way out. Buddy, there wasn't anybody in that school except you. No other missing person has been reported. Then I saw it, a pair of glowing white eyes staring at me from the school entrance. That day, it got all of us except me. I was the one that survived, that escaped. But I don't know if I prefer that over getting caught by it. It never lets a prey go. As I'm writing this, I can see the reflection of its glowing eyes on the screen of my computer.